is Pitbull going to do in the UFC? Because most Bellator champions do very poorly. Patricio Pitbull will be the 9th former Bellator champion to come into the UFC. And that's not like, how did Ryan Bader do in the UFC, even though he's Bellator? No, it's people who became Bellator champion first and then came to the UFC. How do they do? They don't do well. Eddie Alvarez became champion. He's the most successful former Bellator champion to come to the UFC. Alexander Volkov has a very good record, 12-5. He's really only lost to the very best. Other than that, everyone else has losing records. The other 6 former Bellator champions that come to the UFC all have losing records, and usually pretty bad. Hector Lombard, 3-7, won no contest. Ben Askren, 1-2. Brooks, 1-3. That one really surprised me. Joe Soto, 3-5. Zach McCoskey, 3-4. No one does very well. Former Bellator champions coming to the UFC. Why is that? 3 reasons. 1, just the obvious. Let's call a spade a spade. The UFC has better competition than Bellator. That is just true. It is just undeniably true. The UFC roster, depending on what time of day it is, has between 90 to 95% of the best fighters in the world. It's just a better roster. You can be the best fighter in the world and not be in the UFC. You can't prove it unless you're in the UFC. Age. Patricio Pitbull, just one example. He made his Bellator debut 15 years ago. April 22nd, 2010. It'll be almost 15 years to the day since Pitbull made his Bellator debut. He's 37 years old. All these guys, Lombard, Chandler, Brooks, Makovsky, Soto, all in their 30s by the time they got into the UFC. Often in their mid-30s. That wears on you. It's a young man's game. You got to be young if you're going to be successful in mixed martial arts. Your prime is 29 to like 33, usually, unless you're a heavyweight, in which case you have 20 years of prime because the division sucks. That's a big part of it. Bellator, for a good chunk of that time, was the number 2 organization in the world. Getting a title shot in Bellator, earning the belt in Bellator, defending the belt in Bellator was probably the second hardest place to do it. In the UFC, we just talked about how long it took Magomed Ankalaev to get a title shot, Merab Dvalishvili to get a title shot, Bilal Muhammad to get a title shot, Leon Edwards to get a title shot. These fighters in the UFC at the highest level of the sport are using their primes to get to the title. By the time they get there, they're at the end of their prime or out of it completely. So in Bellator, for a good chunk of the last 15 years, was the number 2 promotion in the world. Getting to a title shot often took your prime to get there. And then once you became champion, you were probably out of your prime or close to it. So age is another big factor. The third one, matchmaking. UFC loves to take ex-champions and throw them right to the wolves. They love it. Not always the case. Kaya Zakura got an immediate title shot, mostly because Pantoja needed a champion and they thought they can really make headway with him. But usually the UFC's like, okay, you're a champion there. What can you do here? And that's usually the case. So competition is just purely better. Age, major factor, and UFC matchmaking. All point to why former Bellator champions just don't succeed in the UFC all that often.